In this video, we're deep diving into Hades 2, which just hit early access on Steam recently. I'm here to share my first impressions after playing it. I'll cover what I liked, what I didn't, and how it compares to the first, and whether it's worth buying now or waiting for a full release. First, let's talk about the story and setting. I don't want to spoil too much because the story is a big part of this game, but you're playing as Melanoi, the sister of Zagreus, who was the protagonist in the first game. You're on a quest for revenge due to some horrible events that have befallen your family, and the goddess Hecate is helping you out. Your main hub is an area called the Crossroads, which serves as your base of operations throughout the entirety of the game. This setting is rich with mythology and atmosphere, immersing players in a world that feels both familiar and new. The game's format is very similar to the original Hades. You play through the game, unlock more things as you progress, and experience more story elements. If you enjoyed Hades, you'll feel right at home here because not much has changed in terms of storytelling and game design. Hades was phenomenal, one of my favorite personal games, and the sequel sticks closely to what made the first game great. The developers have managed to retain the essence of what made Hades so special while introducing enough new elements to keep things fresh. The balance between maintaining beloved features and innovating with new mechanics is quite impressive. For example, you use mana to cast spells and charge special abilities instead of using bloodstones. This adds a new resource to manage as you explore. You can replenish this in various ways like perks, armor, or looting nodes in the overworld. This makes the game more strategic as you have to decide when to use your charged abilities. Managing mana adds an extra layer of depth to the gameplay, requiring players to think carefully about how and when to use their abilities. This resource management aspect enhances the tactical nature of combat, making each encounter feel meaningful and challenging. Most of the gods and goddesses from the first game have returned. However, the game isn't complete yet, so I haven't seen all of them, but the roadmap indicates more characters and powers will be added at a later date. The power-ups in Hades 2, in my opinion, seem less than interesting than those in Hades. This could possibly change as more are added and tweaked before the full release of the game. Supergiant, as the developers, have a proven track record of listening to the player feedback, so it's likely that the final version will include a wider variety of exciting power-ups. The diversity of abilities and builds was a highlight of the original Hades, and I'm optimistic that Hades 2 will continue to innovate in this regards. Weapons play a huge role in Hades 2, just like in the first game. You'll have to master new weapons, which is great. Unlocking them requires collecting materials, and some are tied to later areas of the game. They did mention adding at least one new weapon in the future update. Each weapon can be upgraded to change its regular and special attacks, adding another layer to building your character's abilities. Experimenting with different weapon combinations and finding the perfect build is a big part of what makes the game so engaging. This variety ensures that each run feels unique, encouraging you to experiment and adapt their strategies. Graphically, Hades 2 seems even prettier than the first game. The art style remains the same, which is fantastic, but the resolution and depth appear improved. The environments are richly detailed and the character designs are just as captivating as ever. The visual fidelity adds to the overall immersion, making the world of Hades 2 vibrant and alive. The music and voice acting are also top-notch. The soundtrack includes variations of those from the first game, and the voice acting, especially Amelia Tyler as Hecate, is excellent. If you loved her narration in Baldur's Gate 3, I promise you'll enjoy her just as much here. The audio design from the musical score to the sound effects adds to the overall immersive experience, creating a cohesive and engaging atmosphere. There are many nods to the first game, which I love. For example, Artemis helps you by attacking enemies, and a character similar to Skelly is there to help train you. You can upgrade and purchase items from vendors at the Crossroads, similar to how you did in the House of Hades. These familiar elements provide a sense of continuity, while the new additions ensure the game doesn't feel like a mere rehash of its predecessor. The balance between new content and nostalgic callbacks strikes the right chord, appealing to both returning fans and new players. Hades 2 will be in early access throughout 2024 with significant updates planned. A major content update is expected later this year, but the full release won't be until at least 2025, likely in the first or second quarter. The first game was in early access for a long time, but Hades 2 might not need as much tweaking since the developers have a better idea of what players like. The early access period will allow developers to gather valuable feedback and make necessary adjustments to ensure the final product meets player expectations. This development process is crucial for refining the game's balance and ensuring a polished final release. So this brings up the question, should you play Hades 2 now or wait for the full release? Even though the game is enjoyable, Hades' design means that story elements unfold as you play, especially as you die and retry. This makes me wonder if you'll get the best experience by playing now and potentially missing out on new content or having to replay parts of the story. The nature of the game encourages replayability, but some players might prefer to experience the story in its entirety without interruptions. The decision hinges on personal preferences and how one enjoys interacting with the game's narrative. To that point, the developers haven't guaranteed that the saves will be compatible with the full release of the game. So if you start playing now and decide to wait for more content, you may have to start over. Again, this isn't necessarily a bad thing given Hades' replayability, but it's something to consider. The game is designed to be played multiple times, with each one offering new challenges and discoveries, so starting over may not be as daunting as it seems. For players who enjoy mastering the game's mechanics and exploring different build combinations, this could be even seen as a positive aspect. I personally will be playing now to become comfortable with the game, but will wait for the full release to dive deep. I want the fully polished experience, and I believe it'll be amazing just like the first game. Supergiant Games did a fantastic job with Hades, winning numerous awards and almost clinching Game of the Year, so I have incredibly high expectations for Hades 2. The potential for this sequel to build on the success of the original is enormous, and I can't wait to see how it evolves. The anticipation for the new content and improvement makes the wait for the full release even more exciting. Ultimately, whether to play now or wait depends on your preference. If you're okay with potentially replaying parts of the game and want to experience it as it develops, go for it. If you prefer a complete experience, it might be better to wait. The decision comes down to how you like to engage with your games and whether you're comfortable with the idea of playing an unfinished product. Both approaches have their merits, and it's about what suits your gaming style best. For those who have played Hades 2, what do you think so far? Are you enjoying it? And for those who haven't picked it up yet, do you plan to buy it now or wait for a full launch? Let me know in the comments below. Sharing your experiences and thoughts can help others to decide whether to jump into early access or hold off until the full release. In conclusion, Hades 2 in early access offers a tantalizing glimpse of what's to come. The familiar yet fresh gameplay, enhanced graphics, and excellent audio design makes it the worthy successor to the original. The new mechanics like managing mana and mastering new weapons adds a layer of strategy that will keep players engaged. The story, while still unfolding, promises to be as compelling as the first game's narrative. The combination of new features and familiar elements creates a balanced and engaging experience. The early access period will allow the developers to fine-tune the game based on our feedback, ensuring that the final release is as polished and enjoyable as possible. Whether you choose to play now or wait, Hades 2 is shaping up to be another giant from Supergiants. The choice ultimately depends on how you prefer to experience the game, as an evolving project or a finished masterpiece. Both options offer unique experiences, and there's no right or wrong way to enjoy this game. I hope my first impressions helps you decide whether to dive into Hades 2 early access or wait for the full release. Either way, you're in for an incredible experience. Please do me a favor, share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Your insight may be helpful to somebody else that's on the fence. I appreciate you watching and supporting the channel. Definitely stay tuned for more updates on Hades 2 and other exciting games. At the end of the day, these are just my impressions, so don't take my word for it. I'm just a random dude on the internet. Do your own research. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.